So here is an image of a British production of Death of a Salesman. Death of a Salesman is a mid-century American play. It's from 1949, but of course it's world famous. And here we can see a small family and the decor looking very late 40s fashion. Our main character, Willie Loman, is the father, and you can see he's gesturing out with his hands. The actor is playing a head of the household, vest and tie, long sleeve shirt. He's come home, so, the sleeves are up. And he's, by the expression on his face and his seriousness and his wide open mouth, we can see that he's, sees himself as the authority of the family. And here to his right side is the wife, Linda, looking on adoringly. You can see that it's late evening. Willie's just come home late in the evening after a long day's work. Linda appears to be wearing a kind of a robe, so she's in her, bedclothes, and with her hair up in pins, looking on adoringly at her husband, chin on palm even. And to either side we have the adult male children of the family. On our far left, in the gray robe with the blue night clothes, this is the elder son, Biff, and I can tell you I know this just by looking at the expression on his face. He's dismissive, disbelieving, possibly angry in his facial features. And far to the right we have the younger brother, Happy, and he's wearing burgundy night clothes and fine leather slippers, and he's clean cut and kind of all American looking, and he's got a big smile on his face, also looking across. It would seem the Linda and Happy seem to be looking across at one another and appear by their facial expressions to be very accepting of what the father is saying, appearing anyway, while Biff does not. So we can tell that there's a conflict here, that Biff is somehow unhappy, just in this image. Willie Loman, the titular character, meaning related to the title, in Death of a Salesman, spent his whole life pursuing what he thought was the American dream. The play deals with themes of reality and illusion as a family struggles to define their dreams. It is one of Arthur Miller's most famous plays and brought him international acclaim. In 1949, Miller won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama for this controversial play. And, well, we'll get to what makes it controversial in a moment. I would like now to call your attention to the description of the stage, because I think it's extremely important in talking about Willie's state of mind. I'm on page 263 in your textbook. Clear to the bottom. The action takes place in Willie Loman's house and yard, and in various places he visits in the New York and Boston of today. Act 1, a melody is heard playing upon a flute. It is small and fine, telling of grass and trees and the horizon. The curtain rises. Before us is the salesman's house. We are aware of towering, angular shapes behind it, surrounding it on all sides. Only the blue light of the sky falls upon the house and forestage. The surrounding area shows an angry flow of orange. As more light appears, we see a solid vault of apartment houses around the small, fragile-seeming home. So this would be, of course, an image of, what would you call it, urbanization. Perhaps the house once upon a time sat relatively by itself. It used to be a suburb, and this is kind of the thing that has happened all across the United States, that areas might get filled in with more dense and less expensive housing, taller buildings crowding out smaller ones. An air of the dream clings to the place, a dream rising out of reality. The kitchen at center seems actual enough, for there is a kitchen table with 3 chairs and a refrigerator, but no other fixtures are seen. At the back of the kitchen there is a draped entrance which leads to the living room. To the right of the kitchen, on a level raised 2 feet, is a bedroom, furnished only with a brass bedstand and a straight chair. Now you may be wondering to yourself, if you've seen a number of dramas, plays, TV shows, how is it an audience looking forward at a stage would be able to see all of the rooms of the house at once? Well, this is Arthur Miller's brilliance. What he did was he had them build a stage that was kind of cut open. Here we go. You can see that the kitchen is down front in this image, and yet right behind the kitchen there's in the kitchen there's these small round wooden table, wooden chairs, very rustic, a kind of wooden floor, wooden paneling behind on the walls, this very small, very typical refrigerator of the 1940s, actually. It looks more like an ice box where they would purchase a block of ice and put it in there, and the ice would cool the food, as they didn't have an electrical refrigerator. And then slightly raised behind the kitchen, you see a bed, and the bed's headboard there. And so that would be Willie and Linda's bedroom. And then on the second floor, you can see that the house is cut open. You can see the second floor, and you can see Happy and Biff engaged in some sort of lively conversation. And then just outside the house, you can see rising up these probably tenement homes, apartment buildings, built for very dense, very low-income occupation. Here we go. So you see the kitchen, no other fixtures are seen. You can see a draped entrance leading to the living room. You can see raised 2 feet is the bedroom. On a shelf over the bed, a silver athletic trophy stands, and that's actually quite an important prop there, because of course it's going to be linked to the older son, Biff, who you will learn was a high school athlete, very successful. And so it's quite meaningful that his father would hang on to that trophy. A window opens onto the apartment house at the side. Behind the kitchen, on a level raised 6.5 feet, is the boys' bedroom, at present barely visible, because of course the stage lighting would be off in that area. The lighting would only be on the stage area that's active, where the speech is happening, where the characters are active. 2 beds are dimly seen at the back of the room, and a dormer window. This bedroom is above the unseen living room. At the left, stairway curves up from the kitchen. The entire setting is wholly, or in some places partially, transparent. The roof line of the house is one-dimensional. Under and over it we see the apartment buildings. Before the house lies an apron. An apron is, you know what it is. It's a part of stage that's rectangular shaped, and it juts out toward the center of the audience. So it can be used as a kind of a runway for drama. It can be used as a place for, if characters are giving a monologue or an aside, something meant to reveal their internal thoughts, but not something meant to be told to another character. The speaking character will come out on the apron and speak directly to the audience. So that's what an apron is. This forward area serves as the backyard, as well as the locale of all of Willie's imaginings and of his city scenes. So kind of the brilliance of this staging that's done by Arthur Miller is that you can see that what happens in these main areas is the present time. It's what's going on right now. It's the reality that is shared by all of the characters. Whereas if you look at the sort of apron area out front, Miller is able to stage Willie's reminiscences and his confusions, because Willie's confused. He imagines that things are happening that are not happening in the moment, but they happened 20 years ago. And this is kind of the imaginary area. And so, in a way, Arthur Miller's staging actually reflects Willie's thoughts. This structure, this front stage, this back area, this main performing area, and these rising tenements behind give us an idea of what Willie's reality is. And it is different from the other characters, and they lose patience with him because he's raving about things that are not going on. Whenever the action is in the present, the actors observe the imaginary wall lines entering the house only through its door at the left, but in the scenes of the past, these boundaries are broken and the characters enter or leave a room by stepping through a wall onto the footstage. And this stepping through is a very good image of the chaos, that Willie is not experiencing the truth, and boundaries are broken, and, the waters are rising, if you like. He's losing his mind a bit. From the right, Willy Loman, the salesman, enters. Okay, so this is the beginning of the play. It's all images first before anybody speaks. He enters carrying 2 large sample cases. The flute plays on. He hears but is not aware of it. He is past 60 years of age, so what would be close to retirement these days, though not necessarily a guarantee in the 40s. We didn't have the same labor laws then as we have now. Dressed quietly, so you would imagine Brown's something unobtrusive. Even as he crosses the stage to the doorway of the house, his exhaustion is apparent. He unlocks the door, comes into the kitchen, and thankfully lets his burden down, feeling the soreness of his palms. A word sigh escapes his lips. It might be, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. He closes the door and carries his cases out into the living room through the draped kitchen doorway. Linda, his wife, has stirred in her bed at the right. She goes out and puts on a robe, listening. Most often jovial, she has developed an iron repression of her exceptions to Willie's behavior. She more than loves him. She admires him, as though his mercurial nature, his temper, his massive dreams, and little cruelties served her only as sharp reminders of the turbulent longings within him. Longings which she shares but lacks the temperament to utter and follow to their end. Now, you might notice that this particular play, this lead up to the speech, is very long, much longer than you would ever see in any of the ancient or medieval or Renaissance plays. It's a thing that Miller kind of did, and what he's trying to share with readers and with audience members, and certainly with production crews and directors, is the understanding that this stage symbolizes Willie. It symbolizes how Willie feels, how Willie thinks, what his life experiences are, what his expectations are. And it shows us very, very clearly that whatever it was he had, whatever minor successes he had as a younger man, those have fallen by the wayside. He is experiencing mental confusion because he is in a state of disillusionment. The American dream, he has bought it lock, stock, and barrel, operating entirely under the belief that if he just keeps pushing on, pushing on, pushing on, somehow success is going to find him. And unfortunately, he was wrong about